All right. Hey, good evening, everyone. We are live again. It's another Thursday night, 8 p.m. Time flies so fast. And I'm glad to see you all here tonight. I hope you have had your dinner. We'll be going on from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. We'll be answering your questions and you know where to ask them. You see that scrolling banner down there with the link from .sean.c/Discord. That is where we get the questions and we flash them here in the live show and we answer them. Tonight, I do have a guest, but before I get there, I would like to share with you that we have new episodes in the podcast. And here they are, episode 249 to 15 to 51 for this week. That's three episodes published for you on Spotify. First is what makes a good leader. Then we have should you work with your spouse and why all leaders must invest in company culture. I personally learned so much in these podcast recordings. So we have two podcast recording episodes and one AMA. That's with my wife. If you are interested in those topics, it's just 13 to 18 minutes long. You may want to tune in. That's really good stuff for you. And hey, if you learned something new from the podcast, please do help us by sharing our episodes to a friend, to a family, to a colleague. Up to today, Leadership Stack is a non-profit project of me and my team to helping people from, especially here in the Philippines. We do have listeners from all over the world, but especially leaders and entrepreneurs here in the Philippines to level up their leadership and entrepreneurship game. My guest for tonight is Carlo Biglang Awa, and he does have a podcast himself as well, which is the Now Finance. And you might want to follow his podcast as well if you want to learn more about personal finance management. He is a registered financial planner and also does real estate on the side. So his latest episodes are about HMO, financial planning hacks, and leadership with a higher purpose. There you go. He also talks about leadership, and we are fortunate to have him on as our guest tonight. Hey, Carlo, welcome to the show.
Hey Shan, good evening. Thank you for having me here. And of course, we want to greet all our listeners from the Leadership Stack podcast. I'm also a big fan of Shansi and I'm always learning a lot from your show. And it's really value adding for us, especially this pandemic. Thank you so much for your contents, Shan. Yeah.
It's a pleasure and privilege, and it's not just me; it's the leadership staff team who does the magic. No, so it's not a one man show. I have a lot of people who are doing a lot more work behind the scenes, and I'm fortunate to be working with them. So, Carlo, are you ready to answer some questions?
Yeah, sure. I'm so excited to answer the questions of our listeners tonight.
We have a question from YouTube. That's Pam.
Mhm.
How do I manage? How do I start managing my money better? I think this is gonna be well answered by you, no? So I'll let you go first.
Yeah. Well, that's a very timely question, Sean, especially this pandemic. A lot of our kababayans are having a hard time in handling their finances. To start off, they need to know where they are right now because for me, financial planning is like a journey. We have a certain roadmap. And of course, once you identified where you are, first, if you are having a hard time in coping up with your expenses, maybe you need to increase your cash flow. But on the other hand, once you also identified that you are having excess funds for the others kasi siya ngayon dahil mas naging matipid sila because of work from home setup, maybe once na na-identify nila yung situation nila, they can now go to the next step, which is maybe they can save more or maybe they can invest more. So the first thing talaga is to know where you are. Are you struggling with your day-to-day expenses or do you have excess? And after that, you need to know your goals as well. Once you identified your goals, it will be easier for you what to do next. For example, once you list down your short-term and long-term goals, you will be motivated to take small steps. We encourage our listeners, Shan, to really take small steps because sometimes masyadong overwhelming for others yung pagpaplano. No? But once you take it one step at a time, you save 1,000 pesos per cut off. Eventually, it will increase and you will achieve your goals. But first, you really need to know where you are right now. Are you struggling or do you have excess funds? So you can identify the next step. Yeah.
Very good. So, management, we always say what you can't measure, you can't improve. So, the first
Right.
step is answered very well by Carla there. You have to first know where you are, measure where you are. And after you see that, then we can start improving where you want to go. A
Right.
lot of people use expense tracker. So
Mm.
there are apps in the phone. You just have to put in every expense that you make, every money that goes out, put it in the expense tracker so you know how much you're spending per month and on what, like food, eating out, movies, entertainment. You're spending for, I don't know, hobbies. Like I have a lot of toys at the back, right? So I track those expenses, you track those expenses, then you're measuring, oh, okay, I spend so much money in gas, I spend so much money in eating out. Maybe I should budget, put a budget there, put a cap there, so I know not to, I know how not
Right.
to overspend. So one of the best ways to start, especially if you're frazzled right now,
Right.
medyo nababangag ka na, hindi mo na alam kung saan napunta yung salary mo, kakakuha mo lang kahapon, naubos ka agad, no? So, those are some of the things that you have to do. And the next question is very similar: how to budget monthly income and expenses. And that's gonna be the same answer for me.
Yeah.
How about you, Carlo?
Yeah, actually, just to add with what we mentioned, maybe you just need to use a certain tool. What will be effective for you could be an app, just like what Sean mentioned, or maybe for some of us, we are using Excel, so you can also project. For example, after listing down your essential needs, your priorities, and then the non-essentials, maybe those two things are really important because once you list them down, you can now project how much can you save for this month, or are you going to lack a particular amount for your expenses. So yeah, just use a tool and list down your essential needs and non-essential expenses so you can also project for the whole year, Sean. Kasi ang maganda naman when we project for the whole year, we can have a bigger picture. So we go for the monthly and then we go for the whole year tracker so we can have a more prepared action plan in the coming months. Kasi minsan doon lang tayo nakatingin siya, 'di ba, sa smaller scale. But when we look at on the bird's eye view, we can plan better. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, actually, best to pag may mga nagtatanong nga sa akin na
Mm.
what's your advice for me to be able to save up like 1 million pesos by the end of the year? And I tell them,
Mm.
okay, then if you're gonna have 1 million pesos by the end of the year, how much should you be saving per month? What are you
Right.
spending on? So look at the big picture, tama yung sinabi mo, Carlo, and
Mm.
then reverse engineer from there.
Yeah, it's true.
Good stuff. What are some spending habits we should avoid to help us grow our income? Hmm. See, I'll let you go first, brother.
Okay, sige. Well, tama yung maganda yung tanong niya 'no, kasi it's really about our habits. Ito yung mga nakasanayan natin. Well, maybe being unaware of where your money is going. Kasi right now, because of the online platforms, sometimes it's easy to buy online, right? Minsan may magugulat ka na lang, may kumakatok na naman sa bahay ninyo, 'di ba? Meron na namang delivery. So I think we need to set some limits. We need to be aware. For example, we want to buy things online. For example, you should set around 3 to 5,000 limit depending on your capacity, of course. Kasi minsan kapag unaware na tayo siyan, we can be carried away, right? Or maybe for some by using their credit cards because they can just swipe and swipe kapag may gusto tayong bilhin. So nawawala na tayo ng awareness where our money is going. So I believe we need to be aware and we need to set some limits. Kasi kapag wala tayong sineset na limit, madali tayong ma-carried away. And of course, accountability siguro. Lack of accountability. Maybe if you're still single, you need to have someone who can check your finances or who can just ask you, kamusta naman yung budgeting, ganyan. Kasi kapag wala tayong accountability, madali tayong maging unaware. So, yeah, so we can have some parameters and limitations para mas maging maganda yung natin, allocation.
That's good. And I'm gonna just add on that the mindset of our money not being ours. We're called if I'm a man of faith and what I
Mhm.
share is only stuffs I really believe in. And what I believe in about money and about business is we're just stewards. We're
Right,
not really the owners of our money and our businesses. It's God who owns it, and we're just managing it for Him. So if you see it that way, you will really not spend needlessly. You will not spend out of um, want. No? Don't spend want only na parang kung gusto ko, okay na. Kung gusto ko, yun na yun. That's the ultimate decision. That's not how we should do it. If it's a major purchase, meaning it's 10, 20, 30% of your income or of your capital, your savings, you have to pray about it. Don't spend
true.
wantonly. But if it is, if you're buying chewing gum, just buy the chewing gum, right? So it depends on how big the purchase is gonna be, but always be disciplined in how you're spending, and always realize that it is a matter of faith. It is a
Right.
faith decision, especially if it's a big amount. Is it important to save for an emergency fund within your monthly budget? Short answer to that is yes. And the explanation is when tough times come, para hindi ka umutang at mainteresan, kailangan may emergency fund ka.
True. Grabe yan, Chan.
Okay.
Sobrang important yan, especially nowadays. Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainties.
Yeah, I heard that the emergency fund from 3 months naging 1 year na bigla, no? Yung
Mm-mm.
recommended amount because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay.
A good story
Um,
can be the ants, no, Shan? A good example,
yeah,
like the ants, they are saving during sunny days, saving their food so that when rainy days come in, they are prepared and they can still eat their food. So same thing with us. We need to save during sunny days or during good times.
yeah, for sure. 100%. This one's about business.
Mhm.
Erica asks, as a business owner, how do you know when pay cuts are needed? And how can you prepare your people for it? So I don't think there is a really good way to tell people that I have to cut your pay. Um, I can only share how we did it in SEO Hacker last year when clients aren't paying and no new business is coming in. So we organized the operations to run on skeletal team, and those who needed money, income, we arranged for them to have a volunteer program where they can work up to 4 hours, and we pay their salaries up to 4 hours. And that's their right salaries. We didn't cut their salary in half, but we paid the right amount. It's just that the amount of time that they can work is limited, so that we don't also bleed money needlessly. For the skeletal team, we asked them to work at least 6 hours. And that's because they are a critical part of the operations. I mean, we can't really shut down the websites of our clients. We still have to maintain it. We still have to do their SEO. And actually, it's the only thing working for them. Digital marketing is the only thing working for them. So we have to maintain it. We have to keep on doing what we're doing. So we didn't really strictly cut their pay. We never did that. We didn't tell them that your salary is going to be like this na lang, no? But
Right.
we made operational changes that helped us to save money while ensuring that our people still have good revenue coming in so that they can live and provide for their families. That's how we did it. I don't think there's ever a good way to prepare people for pay cuts because that's really a painful thing. It's very painful thing to tell your people that you're cutting their pay. As an entrepreneur, what types of scenarios should you keep in mind when creating your business emergency fund? We call that a safety net. We call that a safety net or a war chest. If you have a lot of legal concerns or problems, we call it a war chest. Um, what types of scenarios? Generally, the rule is it's like emergency funds. Whatever
Right.
you're making per month, multiply that by 3 to 6 months, that's how much you have to have at least with your war chest or with your safety net. So last year, when our clients weren't paying, what we did was we took out from our safety net to pay our people 3 months. And that was painful, but that's what we have the safety net for, you know. I'm glad
Right.
that we have that. And we didn't have problems with that. But the Exicom, we decided not to take salary during that time, during those 3 months. That's March, April, May. I think
Wow.
up to June. So up to 4 months, we didn't take any salary so that we can pay our people. And, you know, not a lot of things were happening last year. If we're going to be honest, not a lot of things were happening in business. Not
Yeah.
There's not much action happening, but we still had to maintain what we were doing for our clients. That's the problem. So we still had to work, even though not a lot of clients were paying, and we didn't have a lot of new clients coming in. So that is why you have to have your safety net. In terms of legal, when someone suddenly files a case against you and goes to court, and that has happened with SEO Hacker before, you have to have a war chest. How much should the war chest generally be? Well, it depends on how many times you encounter these problems. Thankfully for SEO Hacker, in the lifespan of the entire company, it only ever happened once. And that's because of a problematic person in the team. I'm happy to say that we won every case all the way to NLRC,
Wow.
and we didn't do anything fishy. We went everything straight and everything's legal and by law. So like God will vindicate you. God will be the judge between you. And this person, this rascal, changed the case multiple times. I can't believe there's such a person exists like that. But I have experienced it for myself. I have used some money in my war chest for my legal counsel. I have a fantastic legal team. I am very blessed to have them. And we won every case. That's why you have to have your war chest as well. What should people keep in mind when making personal emergency funds? All right, Carlo.
Yeah.
Ano nga ba?
But siguro before I answer this one, I just want to commend what you did in your company regarding the salary priority because when you take care of your employees, they will also take care of your business. So you even sacrifice your own salary as the CEO of your company. So I really admire that decision. Yeah, well,
Thank you, Carlo.
yeah, when it comes to personal emergency funds, we need to know our big why. Why are we doing it? As what Simon Sinek mentioned in his book, we need to start with the why also in saving money, in building our emergency funds. If you're a family man like me, of course, you need to prioritize your family in case of uncertainties, just like what happened with this pandemic. A lot of people lose their jobs and even had salary cut. And so when you have savings or personal emergency funds, you will always go back to your why. Is it your family? Is it your organization where you are part of? Or maybe you are helping some uh, volunteer activities as well. So once your why is clear, you will be motivated despite of the challenges. Because challenges will really be there. There will be uncalculated scenarios. No matter how much we plan, Chan, of course, may mga bagay pa rin na hindi talaga natin calculated. But if we are prepared somehow, we can utilize our resources. Just like what Sean mentioned, we are after stewardship. We are entrusted of the resources that we have right now. And so we can use those resources to bless our family, our community, and whatever your motivation is, which is your big why. So I believe that will be our motivation, which will keep in our mind. We will keep in our mind.
For sure. And a lot of people who have emergency funds, if you're single, it's usually because of when you lose your job. In the rare case, in the rare event that you lose your job and you didn't plan it, you got fired, you got laid off, you have X number of months for you to decide and to apply to numerous other places, and you can choose. Unlike when you lose it suddenly and it's not your choice and you were shocked, Now you're gonna have to bite the next hook, and sometimes that next hook is not the best hook. It sucks. It's not a job that you want to be in. So that's actually a very good reason to keep an emergency fund. But what Carlos said, there are different strokes for different folks. It's
Right.
different whys for each person. Could be your family, could be career, could be anything. How Next question, how have you been budgeting your income during the pandemic? Okay, what percentage are for essentials, groceries, electricity, etc.? That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, for this, Shan, it depends for a particular person. We can answer this on a general perspective because for someone who have dependents, of course, you will prioritize your essentials, which could be food, electricity, or if you're renting, the rent. And then after those securing all the essentials, you will now look at the other expenses that will arise, such as transportation. But for someone who might be single, siguro ang goal niya lang din siyempre to check if meron ba siyang kayang i-save ngayon or it will be just enough. So again, we need to assess our current situation, and then we can also talk with our family about our season right now. Kasi right now, Sean, marami talaga na okay naman yung work niya, but if the family member has been affected by the pandemic, maybe may na-lay off or nabawasan yung salary. So you need to consider also the people around you. So once you consider those aspects, you can now start the budgeting. How many percentage will go to my essentials, maybe 60%, and then 20% for non-essentials. And if you can still save a portion, that will be better. But for the majority who are really affected and they cannot save money, maybe they can also look for opportunities around them because like Sean, as an entrepreneur, you can always have this entrepreneurial mindset. You need to look for problems that you can solve. So, yeah, maybe those are the things that you can consider depending on your situation.
Very good. I might not be the best person to answer this one because it's my wife doing the budgeting. So she would know best. I'm just the one who's reimbursing everything. So that's how I do it. So I'm the kind of guy who I would rather look at how much money I can make than how
Right.
much I could save. Don't get me wrong, I actually save
Mhm.
like 80% of my income. But I really would not want to be so nitty gritty about, maybe we could save on this and that and this and that. I'd rather look at, where are the opportunities I can come in, where I can generate more revenue or I could come in as a business. How can people who are new to personal finance manage their income better?
Okay. So I believe we are always saying this one that personal finance is about our behaviors more than our knowledge, as Dave Ramsey also mentioned. So we need to check also our behaviors. If you're new in financial planning, you need to check ano ba yung majority ng expenses mo right now. Kasi doon mo rin ma-assess kung ano yung pwede mong improve. For example, when I started uh, in financial planning, majority of my expenses napupunta sa mga damit, sapatos, because I was still single that time, Sean. Maybe you can also relate. And then eventually, when I realized that majority of my income are being placed in those items, I began planning. Sabi ko, kailangan may mapuntahan yung income ko. So, I shift my focus from buying to saving. And then, magsistart kasi yung pagsisave natin from budgeting. Once we start the habit of budgeting, let's say every month, you will list down again, like what we mentioned a while ago, your income, your expenses, what are your priorities, and then the non-essentials. Mas magiging ano ka na, intentional in taking small steps, in saving consistently. Kasi ang mahirap talaga simulan siyan is the habit of budgeting and saving. Pero once na masimulan mo yung budgeting and saving a portion of your money, it will become natural for you. It's like, di ba, pag we are brushing our teeth, it's just natural for us. Or taking a bath. So
Yeah.
that's the same thing when it comes to personal finance. We just need to set the habits that we want to to have a priority on so that it can have a better impact in our future moving forward.
For sure. And hey, before we move forward, just want to share that we have YouTube videos. So we are on YouTube. For those of you who are subscribed to our podcast on Spotify, maybe you're a little less auditory, more visual. Every episode we've ever published is also on YouTube. And the good news is our subscribers are increasing. Road to 1,000. Hanggang ngayon wala pa kami sa 1,000, guys. Please do help us out. Really would love
Malapit
this
na siya.
921 to increase. Kahit tatlo, apat lang, it matters to us a lot. That's more than 250 episodes now on YouTube. Yours for watching, reviewing, all free. So yeah, definitely share this with friends, family. Our episodes with Tom Caretti is there as well, and the latest podcast AMA episode with Apple, my wife, my dear wife. Should you work with your spouse? That is the question we answer there. Okay, any tips for people who tend to overspend when they go shopping? Shopping sa Lazada, shopping sa Shopee, madaming in-add to cart. Paano nga ba ang gagawin natin?
Yeah, maraming pwedeng tips, no? Una, kapag may asawa ka na, syempre, yung asawa mo na yung ipag-handle mo ng pagbo-book online. Kasi minsan yung control din siya. It depends on the personality of a person. So if you're married, maybe you can ask help from your spouse. But if you're still single, you need to set boundaries. For example, per month, you can set a boundary of 3,000 to 5,000 or maybe 10,000 depending on your lifestyle, depending on your earning capacity. Kasi I don't want naman na ma-deprive natin sila because of budgeting. But once you set some parameters, you set some boundaries, you will be more aware na kapag ka umabot ka na ng 3,000 for example, 5,000, doon na yung pinaka budget mo for the month. Kasi ang tendency kasi siya, we are really kumbaga enjoying because of the convenience. Isang click mo lang, mabilis na umorder. So ask for help also. If you have a family member who can kumbaga remind you from time to time, who can check on you. So that will be a big help. Being accountable to someone talaga. Yeah. Look for your friends who can check on you.
Yeah, good stuff. I think for ito practical tips lang, no? Pag nagsha-shopping kayo sa e-commerce site, don't do it after 8 p.m. because
Yeah.
your hormones change at night and you tend to buy more stuff towards the midnight. So, yeah, just don't buy, don't check out your cart during those times. That's
O
some
kaya window
practical.
shopping na lang siya.
Pwede rin, screen shopping. No,
Yeah.
hindi na window shopping
Oo
ngayon.
nga, screen shopping na lang online.
Okay. If someone is interested in trying out multiple investments, which one would you recommend?
Okay. What we always say to our clients as a financial planner is to always invest in an instrument that you understand. Do not invest in something that you do not understand because there's a lot of platforms at this point in time. There's a lot of new platforms na dumarating din and maraming na-hype. Yun yung iniiwasan natin. Kasi kapag hindi mo naintindihan yung certain platform, you might lose money. So you need to understand a particular investment first. I suggest start with a simple one muna, no? Yung of course before investing you need to have emergency fund, you need to have protection first from life risk. So we are teaching it on a step by step approach kasi ang nangyayari siyan if we dive in to investments right away without savings or protection, we might really lose our money because there are risks involved in investing. But once you understand a particular platform, for example, you understand mutual funds, stock market, or even cryptocurrency, you have some parameters, you have some strategies when to cut loss or realize gain, maybe you can do it one step at a time. For example, you focus first on mutual funds, and once you increase the amount of your investment in that platform, maybe you can go for the next one. Kasi yung gusto natin siya magkaroon ng volume for a particular investment. Kasi for example, you started with 5,000 in a mutual fund, and then gusto mo na ulit mag-try ng another platform pero wala pang volume yung investment mo dun sa first one. So, hindi mo masyadong maramdaman yung possible income. We need to set the consistency first, and then we need to study it first. I wrote an article about investing like a basketball legend. Diba, if you're playing basketball, for example, nasa barangay league ka pa lang, so you need to practice pa eh, diba? You need to learn a lot more skills, dribbling, passing, shooting, teamwork. And then, once you're done with the barangay level, syempre, you will go to the city level and then maybe the national level. So, in investing, you should focus first in one platform. And then eventually, you can diversify because diversification is very important to manage the risk. Kasi ang goal natin is to maximize profit and minimize the risk. So sometimes, ang nangyayari ngayon siya, a lot of people are being hyped. For example, may lumabas na bagong platform, uy, invest tayo dyan kasi biglang yaman tayo dyan. But that's not true in investing. We need to know that there are risks involved. And I know a lot of people who already lose their money because first, hindi nila naintindihan yung platform. So understand first the platform, then once you have a certain volume, maybe you can go for the next platform. Yeah.
Yep, completely agree. Completely agree. One of the easiest ways to start for me lang is the stock
Mm-hmm.
market.
Right.
Easiest because you can do it yourself. There's so many resources out there. I personally learned from Marvin Guillermo. I attended his Stock Smarts seminar when he was doing it live. I'm a big fan of his work, his
Yeah.
books, and I cannot recommend him enough. Like, if you
Yeah.
want to learn about stocks, he is the go to guy. And the technical and fundamental analysis that I know now is because of him. And right now, stocks are doing better than
Right.
earlier this year. So you might, if you're starting out, now is a really good time. But also invest first in here, in what you know, how much you know about the platform, right? If you're
Right.
gonna trade stocks, study fundamental and technical analysis first. Don't just buy stocks because someone told you to buy stuff.
Right.
Crypto is very high risk.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate naman is very high capital. So,
Yeah.
kanya-kanya yan, no?
Mm-hmm.
Kanya-kanyang investment. I personally don't invest in condos. I would rather invest in land, in lots talaga. So, but the first real estate investment I did was my house. This house I'm living in, which is actually 2017 lang ko lang nagawa, no? And that's like I've been doing business and saving up for like 7 years already. That should tell you how much capital you need to buy a house and lot, right? So, and I've been able to also procure other lots after this one, and it takes a lot of capital to be able to buy land now. It's a lot of
Right.
capital, and hopefully it pays off. By the rate that land is going naman, it would pay off. So may alam mo kong lot. I personally checked it out. Like in 4 years, 300% increase yung presyo niya. So the one who bought it gained 300% already, and we're talking in the millions, right? Um, Agriculture is also something that's very interesting. A lot of people are exiting there. Like the older farmers, their kids don't want to run that business anymore, don't want to run the farms anymore. So there are legacy family businesses in agriculture right now where you can buy the land or rent the land. That's also an option. And just get everything and learn it. You have to be there on the ground. Yun nga lang. You have to be there. You have to learn it. You have to know your people. You have to have a good relationship with your farmers. It's also a business. It's also a
Right.
business. When you invest in agriculture, it's also a business. Unless you know someone and they're willing, or they're doing the work. Like my investment in agriculture is in sugar. So I know someone, and they're doing it for like 5 generations already. They're experts. And I was fortunate enough to be invited to invest there. For I don't know why, but I was fortunate enough to be invited to invest there, and I'm very happy with our investment there. So there's so many investments that you can get into. There's the easy ones where you just need, a couple of thousand pesos to get in, and then there's the super expensive ones where takes you years to be able to get in
Yeah.
there. You have to, but at the end of the day, you have to know your stuff. You have to know what is a good buy so that you can sell high in the
Right.
fastest amount of time with the lowest risk. That's the best way to do it. What would you recommend that people invest in? I think this question, same answer.
Yeah.
Invest in what you know. Invest in what you know. If you check out my stock portfolio, a lot of it is telco and tech stocks because that's what I know, right?
Yeah.
So, Globe, PLDT, um, Jollibee. I have Jollibee because
Same.
Jollibee
Yeah.
everywhere, and then
Same here.
in my US stocks, I have a lot of tech stuff, right? Tech that we personally use in SEO Hacker. I invest in them. So yeah, SEM Rush is about to take off in the technical analysis. So I'm not telling you guys to buy, right? But I'm invested there. I use that software. We've been partnered up with that software. They went public this year. I'm very happy about that. For those of you who are looking at investing in the US tech market, SEMR yung code nila, SEMrush. So yeah, how do I know what type of investor I am? I think there's like tests that you could take,
Yeah.
right? Based on your risk profile. Can you tell us a bit more about that, Carlo?
Yeah. Yeah. Aside from the risk profile questionnaire that you can take, maybe you can also consult a professional on how you can assess your risk profile, and also you need to consider also your goals or the purpose of your investment. For example, if your investment is for a long-term purpose, the risk that you can take may vary from an investment wherein you will use it for the next 3 to 5 years. For example, Shan, someone who will invest for retirement can be aggressive. Kasi it's like, I love this analogy. For example, you're driving in the expressway. If you're still far away from the toll gate, your speed is still around maybe 80 to 100 kilometers per hour. But when you are approaching the toll gate already, you need to slow down a bit. So the same thing with investing. You need to know first the purpose of your investment because it can also help you identify if you can be aggressive. Aside from the risk profile questionnaire, of course, once you identify that you're aggressive, still you need to know the purpose of your investment. Kasi if you're aggressive, for example, but the purpose of your investment is something that you need after 3 to 5 years, I think you need to place it in a more conservative platform. Like for example, if you will be having a long-term purpose, you can consider index or the top companies in the stock market. But if you will be investing for the short term, maybe you can consider money market funds, which are more conservative, or maybe you can diversify like bonds, place some of your investments in bonds for government or private equity securities. And of course, you might consider also digital banking for short-term purposes. Kasi if you have seen the interest rates of some digital banks, they are higher than the usual savings account. So first identify the goal or purpose of your investment, and then of course try to seek a professional's advice, and after that you can identify your risk appetite if you're conservative, moderately aggressive, or aggressive.
Yeah, good stuff. I guess I'm going to be answering in an unconventional manner,
Yeah,
which you may
sure.
never have heard this advice before. But for me, try out a little bit of everything, and
Yeah.
then you'll know how you really are as an investor. If you
Yes.
try out crypto and you can't sleep well at night, then
Mhm.
you should be playing it a little bit more conservatively. If you're invested in tech stocks and you still can't sleep well at night because tech stocks are a lot more volatile than, let's say, commodities or retail commerce, the brick and mortar commerce stocks, then you might be still a little bit more conservative. I mean, I did take that test, that
Yeah.
risk appetite test, and it came out that I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But I have crypto and a lot of tech stocks, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if, yeah, for me, just try it out. That's gonna be my answer there. Always know that my advice is always just put money you're willing to lose,
Right.
right? If you're trying out, you're just trying to learn, you want to know things, always just put in money you're willing to lose, or there's virtual accounts that you could
Yeah,
use,
that's
virtual
a good
money you could
practice.
play with. That's good. Yeah, that's good practice for you if you don't want to risk your real money first. Question from Zar: is it advisable to apply for a separate bank account and wait for the small interest it gives me, or is it better to invest that money to crypto or anything that would profit more and faster? Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead, Carlo.
Yeah, first off, Zar, like what I mentioned a while ago, financial planning is a step-by-step process. You need to have a particular emergency fund first. Then, of course, it's not that we are strictly implementing it. It's still up to you. But what we are recommending, once you are able to save a certain portion of your income, yeah, you can do a separate bank account from your payroll, for example, para hindi mo siya ma-withdraw. And then, of course, once you are set with your emergency fund, you have some protection from life risk, like mga insurances, life insurance, health insurance. And then you want to invest in cryptocurrency, yeah, that will be a good way. But again, kailangan pag-aralan mo muna. Are you willing to accept the volatility of cryptocurrency? If yes, then you can go ahead and invest in crypto. And of course, you need to consider also that it's not about getting profit right away. Kasi sometimes, if we focus on the profit too much, we lose the strategies. Like what Sean mentioned a while ago, we need to have some technical and fundamental analysis in decision making. Hindi tayo dapat mag-depend lang sa, for example, decision of famous people. So we need to have a certain personalized strategy because there's no single investment strategy that will work for everyone. So kailangan clear din sa'yo. Are you willing to lose this money in case fluctuate? For example, sa cryptocurrency, we witness how it fluctuated in the previous years. Yung iba talagang malaki yung kinita, pero yung iba talagang malaki rin yung loss. So establish first the foundations, like the savings and protection. Then after that, once you identify that you're comfortable with crypto, yeah, then go ahead and do crypto trading, but still you need to have some parameters before you can take profits.
Yeah, good stuff. And one of the things that so I had an AMA episode as well in the podcast with Randall Tiongson. I know it's not published yet because we had it like sometime last month. And his crypto portfolio is like 5% or less. So it's just super small. And again, it's money is that he's willing to lose. I would say if you need the money, don't invest it. Just
Yeah,
put it in your bank account because you need that money. If it's excess money, then you can invest it. Where do you invest it? Invest it in a place that you know you know a lot about. Like if
yeah,
you know a lot about stocks, then you put it in stocks. You know a lot about real estate, put in real estate. Know a lot about agriculture, put it there. Know a lot about business, put it there. So it depends on what you know. Invest in what you know. That's how I'd answer this one.
yeah.
Melvin says hi. Hey Melvin,
Hi,
how's it
Ninong
going?
Melvin.
Been a while. Hope you guys
Shout
are
out
doing
to
well.
our Ninong.
Ayan, ninong pala si Melvin.
Yeah.
Good friend. Good friend from Victory. Chai says hi.
Yeah, shout out to my wife, my
Ayan.
office mate here at home.
Sinastock ka ng wife mo dito.
Yeah. Hello.
Alright. From Kenneth Mendoza, how do you keep a remote team engaged? My HR team does a fantastic job. It's not me. Like I'm not really that great with employee engagement, thinking of stuffs that we could do to engage people in the team. I'm not the best person to answer this actually, but my HR team does a brilliant job of creating programs like game nights, webinars that or Bible studies that will just help the team to bond and talk with each other. We also have our Discord channel where we can just hop in one channel or the other and talk with people, make a ruckus. I think it's just me making a ruckus most of the time. So yeah, and then we chat them, we ask them how they are. I do a lot of one-on-ones recently because a lot of I've been able to delegate a lot of my work to other people. So I'm happy about that. My wife's about to give birth sometime soon, so I have to do it, and I'm happy about the results because then I have a lot more time doing one-on-ones with other people now. So that's how we do it for now. We haven't seen each other since pre-pandemic, but I am very happy about our relationship with each other. It's not like we've lost touch. We chat every day. We have Zoom meetings every almost every day. Yeah, almost every day. But every week we have team meetings. So and we see everyone in the town hall meeting every Monday. So yeah, that's that. Those are little things, but very important because we can't really just talk and see each other and ask each other how we're doing in the water cooler in the office now.
Yeah.
How can I encourage my team members to speak up? They're comfortable talking to me, but it becomes a challenge when we ask them to speak their mind in an app or platform. I guess you have to first create a culture of safety, an environment of safety where people can speak up. That doesn't mean they're not going to be responsible about what they say. They have to be responsible about what they say. They can't just say things like they can't just tell you that I feel like resigning and I feel like this and this also feels the same way. Like they can't just say that. They have to they have to qualify it really well. So those are things that they have to take responsibility for. Okay? All I'm saying is when you create a culture of safety, a
Yeah.
psychologically safe zone where people can tell you stuff, they still have
Right.
to be responsible about what they say. They can't cuss you, they can't say bad or foul things to you. They have to respect you. They cannot behave in a way that is going to be a form of misconduct. So that said,
Yeah.
make sure that as a leader you listen to your people. And when I say listen, not you don't just listen with your ears, you listen with your hands also. You act on what it is that they're saying, if it makes sense, if it makes business sense, if it makes team sense, if it makes cultural sense to your team. So I'm not telling you to be a subservient CEO or a subservient leader na lahat na lang sasabihin nila susundin mo. Naging CEO ka pa, maging empleyado ka na lang, di ba, pag ganon.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you are making the critical decisions that is best for the entire team, not just for one or two people who are telling you their opinions in that circle of safety zone. So it is a tough dance that you have to do as a leader. But people will speak up if they know that you listen, you have a sound mind, you have wisdom, the wisdom of God, and you actually act on the things that make a lot of sense for everyone. No, I think in SEO Hacker, that's the kind of culture we have. People just speak up. They tell us what they think. In fact, they rate the management. They rate me and the other
Wow.
leaders. Can you believe that? Every month we get that twice. And makakita lang kami ng score na 7 or 8, kinakabahan na kami. Ganun kami as leaders, no? And we really act on what we can. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's next question: is there an informal way of getting ENP? I'm not sure what informal way means. I'm not sure what that means. So I'm sorry, I can't really answer this question. I'm not sure about ENPS. I know what NPS is, but ENPS, I'm not that sure of what that is. So if you could qualify that to the person who asked the question, would be well appreciated. From Clester, how do you handle your employee that is older than you? I actually think that you should not, like, strictly speaking, the word handle is pretty strict, pretty tight, pretty gripping. I don't like the word handle. I would say lead. How do you
Yeah.
lead the employee or the team member who's older than you? And I'd say lead by example. I mean, age doesn't matter. When you're my age, I'm 30, I'm 32, turning 33 this September 6th. And when you're my age, doesn't matter if you have a personnel who's like 40 or 50. It's like you're all the same. When I was 20, it was tough for me to hire someone 30 or 40, right? Because I had a lot of immaturities and I wasn't a really great leader way back when. Now I would say that I learned so much more, and we have people now who are older than me. Thankfully, I'm not the oldest guy in the team anymore. I'm not the oldest person in the team anymore. This year we just got people who are older. I'm not gonna say their name or age, but they are older than me, and it's the same as how you lead every other team member. Lead from the front. Show them you work hard. I show people that I work really hard. In fact, I like working the hardest. I don't like anyone in my team outworking me. And when you show them that you're the CEO and you're toughed up and you work that hard, I think people are just inspired to work alongside you and encourage them. Everything that you do as a leader, that's what you do. That's what you do. Even for people who are older than you. From Jabez, how to create a good company culture. When you say culture is all about how we do things, in short, it's all about process. So our mission and vision statement and our core values are memorized and recited by people in the team. So I wrote everything. I wrote our vision statement, our mission statement, our six core values. I wrote what it means. It's 1 to 2 sentences short. And then I wrote a quote to back it up from someone else. So people in our team have to memorize that and they recite it every town hall meeting, and that ingrains the culture in our minds that okay, this is who we are, this is what we should be doing. And then we have our processes. We make sure that we follow most, if not all, of our processes. There are those rare occasions where we have to go around and break a process just for one um, unique case. There are those times, but often we do the process. That recitation every week, that's part of the process. That's part of our culture. How we hire, that's part of our culture. How we fire, how we promote, that's part of our culture. How we give a memo or a notice to explain to a person who did something wrong in the team, that's part of our culture. How we fire people when they gossip in our team, that's part of our culture. So culture is all about how you do things. And it's not about the writings on the wall. You put your mission vision statement on the wall, you put your core values on the wall, wala silang ginagawa doon, nasa wall lang sila, you don't recite them, you don't hire by them, you don't promote by them, you don't fire by them. That's not going to form a good company culture for you. Your company culture is going to be formed for sure, but not by the ideals you make. It's going to be formed randomly by random people, and it's going to be a monster culture. Because when a lot of heads think about forming something, it's a Frankenstein. Right? That's what happens, and that's why we see so many toxic cultures out there. It's the result of your mission statement and core values just being writings on the wall. Is it wrong to be a materialistic person? Lara asks.
Oh,
All right, Carlo,
yeah.
what do you think?
well, well, it's not for us to judge a person if he or she is materialistic, but we can use the material things around us for a particular purpose. For example, you want to buy a particular gadget because you will use it for your work or business. You want to bless your family a new house, or maybe you want to buy a condominium. Again, it's based on your goals, your purpose. Why do you want to buy a particular item or product? As long as you are not living for it, but you are using it for your um, goals in life, or maybe you are using the stuffs that you are buying to have meaningful relationships with other people. For example, you bought a new car because you want to travel with your family members. Again, as long as our motivation is not to impress people. I love this quote. Buying things we cannot afford because we want to impress the people we don't like. So if that's the case, maybe that's not good, right? Because the motivation is not really for your benefits. So you are just buying things to impress people. So again, we need to go back to the purpose of why we are buying things. Just like again what we mentioned about stewardship, if we will utilize the resources that we have right now for a better purpose, for the common good of our community, I think we can use it in our advantage, right, Shan? Because you are doing it for other people, not just for your own.
For that's a very good answer. I would, so I'm not gonna answer it in that perspective anymore because you phrased it perfectly. I'm gonna
Yeah.
answer it from a
Another
perspective of
perspective.
faith. Okay,
Yeah, it's
so I'm a
good.
man of faith. I share what I believe in,
Right.
and being materialistic in my definition is someone who loves the material world. You know, these things, the things you can buy here, the things you can use here in this world. And in the Bible, it says, do not love the world or the things of the world. And the world is actually one of the enemies that Jesus points out in the Bible. And that's because
Right.
this is not our home. Someday we're going to pass away and we're going to get home to heaven, hopefully to heaven. If you're someone who believes in Jesus, that He is God, He died for you, He saved you, and you follow His word, that's salvation right there. You're able to get to heaven. That's our true home. Everything you amass here, everything that you put, if you put your hopes and dreams here on earth, on stuff, on people, it's gonna pass away. Bible says
Right.
everything's gonna burn at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And guess what? Elon Musk, who's an atheist, also says the same thing. So
Yeah.
materialism is not gonna end well for anyone
Right.
who has material things at heart. So that's something for me that is, yeah, I'd say it's wrong. I'd say it's wrong at the very core. I'd say it's better to love eternal things,
Yeah.
such as the spirit, your spirit, my spirit, other people's spirits. Care about other people. Care about your own spirit. Read God's word. Meditate on God's word. That is more important for me. The material things are there for us to bless others, to point people to God, and to also provide for our own needs, and that's it. That's as far as material stuff goes for me. Causes for a person to be materialistic, I'd say two things. Number one is greed, number two is lust. That's it.
Yeah.
When you lust for things, you want to get it, you want to buy it, you want to own it. And when you have a lot of lust for things, that's greed. So I think those are two causes. The root cause would be the heart. The book of Jeremiah chapter 17 says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? I can't understand it. Like sometimes I want to buy stuff. I don't even know why I want to buy stuff. Even if it's not to impress other people. It's just sometimes you want to buy something useless. I don't understand why I'm like that sometimes. Thankfully, um, 99.9% of the time, I refrain from buying that thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, so that's my take on that.
Yeah.
How can one get over materialism? Have an eternal perspective. If you know that everything's gonna burn at the end of the day, then you're not gonna invest in this world, in the stuffs in this world. You're gonna give. You're gonna give like 10%. I give to God of everything I make, and then I also give to other people, like pastors, missionaries, to help further God's kingdom. And yeah, I make it a habit to give every month. And I know a lot of people who also have that much faith that they give their tithes and then they give and support pastors and missionaries as well. And God has blessed those people immensely. And I want to be as blessed as them also. So, and the Bible says, give. No, literally, the Bible says this: give and it will come back to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, overflowing.
Yeah.
So, it's that's God's word, that's God's promise. If you believe that, then it's gonna be true for you. I know it's true for me, and question is it gonna be true for you, right? From
Agree.
Jerome, what do you do if you feel uninspired or demotivated to carry on? I'd list down 20 things I'm thankful for, and I would thank God for them out loud. That always gets me going. How about you, Carlo?
Yeah, that's true. I agree with what you mentioned, Sean, because I love this principle. It's about thanks living. It's about being grateful and counting all the blessings that you have right now. And of course, going back with your why in your life, why you are doing things that you are doing because you want to help your family, you want to bless the community. So I always go out with my own desire. And whenever I look at the people around me, I became motivated. Though sometimes it's okay not to be okay because there will be down moments, but as long as you have people around you and your families around you, you can be motivated again. And so, like what Shan mentioned, you need to always count your blessings. Yeah.
Yeah, motion before emotion, right? Action before inspiration. Make sure you act first. So list down those 20 things. I'm sure you could think of 20 things. Right now, I'm thankful that I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm not sick, my family's not sick, I have a roof over my head. So there's so many things to be thankful for. When you remember those things, you feel a lot better. You feel a lot more motivated to do stuff. That for me always works. And I hope that works for you as well. Lordy says hi, Sean and Carlo. Hey, Lordy. Thanks for
Hi,
tuning in.
Lordy. Thank you for tuning in.
Kenneth says, thanks for answering. You're welcome, Kenneth. And I think Mitch is here as well. Watch their interview in Carlos' channel. All right. Thanks, Mitch, for that.
Yeah.
Hey, you're
Thanks, Joanne.
following stuff around, huh? And she has a question. Can you tell us the story and how you started your podcast or YouTube channel? That's for you.
Wow, that's a good question. Actually, I started it last year, and my motivation behind it is to really add value to first off to my clients because as a financial planner during the pandemic we need to adapt also with the new normal, so we cannot meet them anymore in person, but eventually it evolved more than just adding value to my clients. It expanded to our countrymen because I want to educate Filipinos more about personal finance and of course about business. That's why I asked Shansi also to be one of my guests. And because of that, I became motivated even though I really started small. So actually right now, Sean, my subscribers in YouTube was around 500 plus, I think. And in podcast, my total streams is not that high pa naman, no? Nasa 2,000 plus pa lang. But because of my purpose, because of my why, when I started the podcast, it gives me motivation. As long as there's one person listening in my podcast, I will keep on doing it. And backstory lang din, I was a frustrated reporter. Kasi ang dream course ko talaga dapat mass comm, but I took a business course in college. So because of the podcasting platform, I realized that it can be an avenue for me to practice my frustrations while adding value to others, of course.
So that's good. And yeah, that's a very good attitude to have, no? Kahit may isa lang nakikinig.
Yeah.
This AMA, when we started the AMA, there's not a lot of people tuning in live. We get like 3, 5, 6 people tuning in live, and that's it. And I talk like
Mhm.
there's like 100 of them. And that's because you have to have vision. You have
Yeah.
to have vision. Someday, maybe I'll have 100 people tuning in live. And someday, maybe we'll have, 50,000 downloads per day. That's
Yeah.
vision, right? You don't have that. I don't have that now. I have
Right.
50,000 starts, 50,000 downloads total since I started way back 2019 of July. Compared to others, that's like nothing. But we're not doing this for the numbers and we're not
Yeah.
doing this for money. We're doing
Right.
this to help other people. And if you have a purpose that's bigger than numbers and money, you're going to keep going. I mean, this Thursday
I
night
love that.
live, we sacrifice 1 hour. Sometimes it's 2 hours. We're a little over an hour right now, and for what? You and I, we're not getting any money out of it. It's really to help other people. Hopefully, they get value out of this. Share it with others who gets value out of this. That's all we can hope for.
Yeah.
I think we're down to the last two questions. Let's finish it up. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. How can
Okay.
one make big financial decisions? I'll go ahead. For me,
Sure.
if you have a big financial decision, if you're married, ask your spouse. She or he owns 50% of the decision. And then pray. If it's a big financial decision, you're going to purchase a house, you're going to purchase land, you're going to purchase car, a vehicle, truck, whatever. Pray about it. And then make the decision after that. Okay. Also make sure that you're not gonna that you can pay, right? If you're gonna ever gonna loan the money from the bank, make sure you can pay it off in the number of years that you intend to pay it off. Okay.
Just to add, Sean, maybe you can have your due diligence. Maybe if you're buying a particular property, because the cost is not that small and it's a big financial decision for your family. Conduct some due diligence. What are the documents needed? How much is your budget? Set a timeline. Kasi kapag mga big decisions, we cannot decide for it overnight. So maybe you can set 3 months, 6 months, or even a year before deciding. Of course, you need to consult your spouse. And if you're not yet married, maybe you can consult your parents or someone you're accountable with. So, kailangan talaga pag-isipan muna siya and nag-research din muna bago tayo mag-decide.
That's right, 100%. And the last question is, how can one learn to be wise with their income?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think you need to keep on learning new things such as the principles about finances. Most of it, I learned it from the Bible. Kasi ang pinaka-source naman talaga natin ng wisdom is the Bible. So it has a lot of verses about money. So how can you handle money? How can you save? How can you be generous? So I think we need to go back to the Bible because it's the source of our wisdom. And of course, we need to combine it also with the practical principles, such as what we mentioned a while ago. You can find someone who can mentor you and who can guide you, who can be accountable with you. And of course, as you go along, you need to read books as well if you want to learn more about money, finances, or of course, watch the Leadership Stack podcast in YouTube or listen sa Spotify or in the Now Finance podcast.
Well, that's very good. Very practical advice. One of the things that the Bible says also that a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children and his children's children. Ibig
Yeah,
sabihin yung mga grandchildren mo, no? So definitely the Bible says for you to save up for the future. And also it tells you to give to God 10% of what you make. That for me is being wise with money,
right,
because when you're able to give to God 10% of what you make, you're a lot looser with what you have. You're a lot less materialistic, or you tend to love money a lot less. That's what giving does. It opens up your heart and takes off the grip of money from your spirit, which is a very good thing. And I realize that's one of the biggest reasons why God asks us to give back 10%, even though honestly God doesn't need our money. He owns everything. So that is one of the ways that I would say you should be wise with money. And then again, with like what Carlos said, always be a student. Always want
yeah,
to learn more. Listen to podcasts, read books. What should you do with your money? If you have excess, what should you do with it? Should you just let it sleep in a bank? Should you get life insurance? What kind of insurance should you get? Should you insure your car, your building, your house? If you're going to invest, which one will suit you best? Which one do you know more of? Is it real estate? Whatever. Always be a learner. And then any big investment you're going to make, pray about it. Ask your spouse as well if you're married. So hope that helps. Hey, we extended more than more than 9 p.m. tonight, but I hope all of you listening in got a lot of value out of this. Leadership Stack Live is every Thursday night, 8 p.m. But if you were here earlier and you heard me mention that my wife's about to give birth from today to anytime September 10, then you guys know that I might miss a week or two. And I'm giving you a heads up right now. For those of you tuned in right now, that's a heads up for you guys. Um, so this is an episode I really enjoyed. Hey, Carlo, thank you for being our guest tonight. I hope you enjoyed this episode
yeah.
as well.
Thank you so
And
much,
I
Sam.
hope
Yeah.
to see all of you next week. Take
See
care,
you very
everyone.
soon. Yeah, congratulations, Shan, for your new baby.